everyone. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to Uptown Studios Live. I'm here with Deb Banks, who is the Executive Director for SABA, Sacramento Area Bicycle Advocates, and the Rivetress. We're going to have to talk about that. So welcome, Deb.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me.
I met you just a little bit ago. I forget what we were talking about. What was that about when I met you? We were talking about some social issues, some biking issues, and how could I help? And you're doing such cool work. I had to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Let's talk. Tell me about how you ended up at SABA. What's your history?
Yeah, it's a weird story, and it's not a path I would ask anybody else to take, because you'll find out why.
Okay.
I was taking a break from my old work, which was education reform, and I had moved back to California from Colorado and was involved in creating my bicycle company, which is Rivet Cycle Works. So I was out on a long bike ride with a group of friends, and I got hit by a car badly. The car driver was drunk, and he was moving at more than 40 miles an hour, which for some people that know this, the faster the speed, the less likely you're going to survive. I did.
Well, I want to interrupt here because I have heard that if you're driving at 20 miles an hour on a city street and you get hit by a car, 9 out of 10 people survive.
Right.
If you're driving at 40 miles an hour and you get hit by a car, 9 out of 10 people die.
Correct.
So that 40 miles is a big issue.
Huge impact, right?
Yeah.
So I was thrown into a ditch and severely broke my leg and some other body parts. 2 years later, and lots of surgeries, etc., I was back on my feet and walking and riding my bike again, which is good. And I came onto the board of SABA, and it really activated my advocacy side. I had been a bike rider and a believer in getting people to ride bikes and to help encourage women in particularly to ride their bikes. But this really kind of flipped another switch and took it up another level. And that's how I ended up in SABA. And then I ended up in the executive director job just over a year ago.
Awesome. 1 year. They didn't break you yet. So that's good. That's good. And so have you just been settling in, or have you had some successes, new programs, or have you done anything?
Yeah.
Haven't done a thing. Tell me what you've done a thing.
Yeah. I would say, here's the thing. Last year when COVID hit and everything shut down, almost all of Sacramento area bicycle advocates at the time, it was very program centric. Bike Valet being our greatest program, and without any events, there's no Bike Valet. So we were shuttered, like many other organizations and groups. But we pivoted and figured out a way to do a touchless system so we could get our bike MDs back up and running and wrenching on people's bikes to keep them rolling. And we started a program called Bike Match, which was a program to match people that had bikes to donate, because a lot of people had old, dusty, but in still good shape bicycles, with essential workers and people that needed them so they could, get to where they needed to go when everything was really new about the pandemic and we didn't think we could touch anything or be anywhere, right? Yeah. We were super nervous. So, that the good news was the bicycle industry, it became a bicycle boom and people really needed bikes. So we started this Bike Match program to help match people with bikes, keep them rolling.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about, give me the high touch on some of the programs, because I know you have the Bike MD and the Bike Valet. We've had events at Uptown when we had events and had Bike Valet there, and we had Bike MD there for May is Bike Month, and we're going to talk about that too.
Yeah.
So talk about the programs.
Well, those are the three biggest programs that are still in operation. In the fall through the winter, we do a lights on program where we buy a lot of blinky lights, both red and white, and we go out and around areas all across the city to all the different neighborhoods, etc., and kind of have a pop-up. We'll stop you, and if you're dark, meaning you're riding your bike without any lights, we'll stop you and put lights on your bike. It's like it's a safety thing. It's a really important piece of your bicycling etiquette, if you will, and it's huge for safety. So,
That's awesome for community. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So we were all over the place, and so we've also attached that into our bike valet and bike wrenching. So if a bike comes to us and we're working on it, it's going to come back to you with a set of lights on it as well. So a little, value add. We're also launching a new program right now. It's called 529 Garage, and it's a bike registry program. Yes, I know there are bicycle registry programs with the city, etc., but this one has a national database. And what we're learning about a lot of bike theft is that it doesn't stay local. People come in from Davis, the Bay Area, or farther north, come to Sacramento, steal bikes, and then depart. Bikes don't often stay here. So it's pretty rare that if your bike gets stolen, you're going to see it here. You may find it someplace else. Anyway, this bike registry program creates a national database, so your bike may show up, but it may show up in Arizona or in Oregon, and then there's ways to help, match you back up to your bike. So we're trying to include that into our services and get more and more people to use it, because I think it's a really value-add program for the community.
Oh gosh, yes, especially if you live in Midtown, where I live.
Yeah.
But, part of the monthly payment is you got to donate a couple of bikes to get stolen.
Yeah. Bike thieves suck, man. That's just all there is to it.
It sucks walking out to get on your bike and it's not there. That just sucks.
It does.
Well, all right. So I have a question. What's the best lock?
Ooh. Well, those kryptonite locks are those U-Light kryptonite locks are fantastic. They're really heavy, but they're pretty much bomb-proof. I think they're the best. I have this lock that's made out of carbon fiber, and so you can't cut through it. And it's a very pliable, and so you can string it through. It looks like a climbing rope, but the innards of it are super both flexible but crazy strong. And then it comes together with a tiny little U-lock. And so I've been using that, but I'm not even sure it's on the market yet. It was a prototype from a German company. Nice. But it's great.
So talk to me about your helicopter ride. There's a story. I want to hear a helicopter ride that ended up in a bike ride.
Yeah, I needed an adventure, and so I signed on to do this trip where I rode my bicycle from Kashmir, China, to Dushanbe, Tajikistan.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it was 2.5.
Like a self-abuse program.
No. It was fantastic. Camping, stomach issues because you're in a massive third world area. A lot of great people, amazing scenery, and really remote. So we were riding our bikes into this beautiful little town called Korog, which is in Tajikistan, heading to Dushanbe. And there was a drug deal that kind of went sideways, and a general in the Tajikistani army was shot. And in this part of the world, it's very tribal. It's not like, on the other side of the river was Afghanistan, but the boundaries that we put into place, on paper don't matter, right? Uh-huh. It's very tribal. So it's sort of like a hat koi thing that just blew up overnight, and all of a sudden the city is under siege, and we were stuck in our hotel for 4 days. And I'm going to make it short, but we ended up walking out of town 4 days later to a safe place, and then got airlifted out of the area. So helicopter ride for women and children first, right? And over Afghanistan airspace to Dushanbe. Our bicycles and our gear followed a couple days later in a huge convoy, which was just a wild, wild experience. You can't pay for that.
Gosh. No, can't make it up. You wanted an adventure, you got one. Jeez.
Yeah, it was definitely type 2 fun.
Oh, yeah. So how many people were on this trip with you?
There were 25 bicycle riders from all over the world. So the convoy had, a German vehicle and a U.S. vehicle and a Canadian French, which had a case of wine in the back because, of course, It's the Canadian in French. Yeah, it was wild. South African, a number of Canadians, Australians. It was a really eclectic group. It was cool.
That is an adventure. Okay,
Yeah.
so how long ago was that adventure?
It was before my injury, and I kind of measure things now pre and post injury. So I'm thinking it was 2012 or so.
Okay. And so do you have any adventures planned in your near future?
It's May's Bike Month right now, so my current adventure is surviving May's Bike Month, and then after that, I will figure something out for the year. Kind of the big adventure, because I usually do one a year, but with COVID again last year, everything was much more local and around town.
So let's talk about May's Bike Month, and what is your involvement in May's Bike Month? And talk to me about it.
We're the local bicycle advocacy organization. So we've done energizers all over. We've been down at Discovery Park this past weekend, up on the American Bike Trail by Chase, where Chase Drive comes in Rancho. Playing games, giving out swag, handing out T-shirts, spreading, bike love and bike goodness. We're going down to Mac Road later this week. And we were down at Cabrillo Park for the Slow and Active Streets, and we've been down there doing activation, wrenching on bikes for the last 2 weekends. We're taking blender bikes down there this weekend to play and get people to make smoothies while they ride bikes, which should be a lot of fun.
I've had the blender bikes at my studio, and they're a blast. It's like there's the chain on the bike turns the blender, and you pedal. The faster you pedal, the smoother the blender. It's like, pina colada time.
Exactly. Although we're going to be on school property, so,
so they're all virgin drinks.
They're all virgin drinks, yeah. But it'll be a lot of fun.
But it's so much fun.
It is.
So, do you have your own blender bikes? Do you have these things that you take around, or?
Well, you can buy a rack that has the blender attachment onto it, and so what you need, it's really pretty. We have the poor man's version. It's attached to a trainer, which we have, and a bicycle is attached to the trainer. You put the rack on the back of the bike. Done. Get yourself some, ice and bananas, right?
Ice and bananas and fruit. Yum. There you go.
Exactly.
Do you have a calendar on your site that says, so people go to sacbike.org
and then look for the events tab at the top of the website, and that'll take you straight to our calendar.
Because all of this, they're doing, Uptown Studios has this mantra: it has to be easy, fun, and popular, or else your campaign's not going to be good. And yours is always easy to do. It looks like fun, and you're going to be more popular, and you're going to meet bike people, and you're going to be doing something good for your community. So I think Saba is just an awesome place, and sacbike.org is a great place to go and to check it out. I want to ask the Slow and Active Streets. Now, I got involved, and I've had Jennifer Dunlap on the show and talking about Slow and Active Streets, and I was just so excited about 26th Street being closed, and it was slow to live. It wasn't active. They closed that, but I think that they're doing better at Cabrillo Park.
Yes.
Let's talk about Cabrillo Park and some of the stuff that's happening there.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that we talked about in Midtown was that the streets were used as pass-through. You're not supposed to gather them, but the hope also was that there'd be a lot of activation and fun stuff that would happen that would help bring people in the community out, especially now that COVID restrictions are loosening just a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, down in Cabrillo Park, Councilmember Maivang and SAC Unified board member, trustee, Chinua Rhodes, and Active Transportation Commissioner Ron Brazel are like all over activating the Cabrillo Park slow streets, which are Tam O'Shanter and 68th Avenue, down just off of Florin area. Rosa Parks Middle School, Success Academy are right in the neighborhood. super fun. And these people are like all over it. They have scheduled meditation in the mornings. We've gone down there and wrenched on bikes to help keep them rolling for people. Walk Sacramento has come down with us, and they're doing helmet fittings, and everybody's playing games, and there's a huge amount of goodwill and good cheer. And that's where we're bringing the Blender bikes this weekend. And hopefully we're going to get Spin down there to also provide scooters so that people can experience, what it's like to learn how to use these scooters. Right.
Ah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So people should go down. I mean, just throw your bikes in the car, and if you don't live in the neighborhood, get on down there and check it out, because I loved walking my dog down the middle of the street on 26 when it was closed.
Yeah.
I didn't like getting yelled at by the cars that were driving by, but this is all part of awareness for the city of Sacramento. It's like you have to talk about it. You have to have some successes and some failures. You learn from the failures, you learn from the successes, and then you start building. And I know there's a couple more that are being talked about too, aren't there?
Yes. So there's a very long process. It's like community engagement, and then the city works on it, and then they get implemented, and then they're there for the community. And Tahoe Park, we're at the place where we're hoping that they've gone through all of the process, and that they're going to be implemented in the next couple of weeks.
Wow.
And they'll run through the end of July, fingers crossed. And then Oak Park is a little bit behind them. They're at the meet with the city, and then if everything goes well, the city then does make sure it's due diligence for safety, et cetera, and signage, and then implementation, and then they'll have them.
So what if someone in the city of Sacramento wants to have a street closure in their neighborhood? Do you know about what they would need to do? Oh, good. You're the right person. Tell me.
Well, the slow and active streets piece is multiple blocks, right? That can be closed. But if you just want to close one block, the city has always had very inexpensive permitting for a block party. I would check right now to make sure that that's still available because of COVID pandemic. Again, gathering of people is still maybe we're not quite there yet. But if it's a block or 2 blocks, you can get a block party permit and close down those streets for the full day. We're slow and active streets. So that's like one event.
Yeah.
Slow and active streets are till the end of July. So it's right now, that would be almost 10 weeks.
Yeah, so there's not enough time for more slow and active streets for the process that it takes.
Probably not. I think that the city website says that they are no longer taking applications for slow and active streets.
Okay. Well, it's like knowing who your city council member is.
Right.
Who's the city council member in Tahoe Park? Do you know?
It's Eric Guerra.
Eric Guerra. So if you're in Tahoe Park, email Eric Guerra and say you love slow and active streets and you want them to come back and you can hardly wait for them to open. The same in Oak Park. Who's in Oak Park? Is that Jay Chenier?
I think it is Mr. Chenier, yeah.
Okay. So if you're living in Oak Park, email Jay Chenier and say you can hardly wait.
Yeah.
You're excited about it and you want it to happen and you want it to be good this year and you want to do it again next year.
Yeah. The one other piece about that, you can also get in touch with the neighborhood associations. Both Oak Park and Tahoe Park have neighborhood associations. And then the city also has a survey on the city website for slow and active streets where you can type in and say, yes, I'm interested in these. No, I need to get some more information, or no, I don't think they're right for my neighborhood. And that's one of the final decision points for whether or not it's going to be implemented or not.
So talk to me about Saba and what you do to make our streets safer for bikers and pedestrians.
Well, we spend a lot of our time, we have our programs and we also do a lot of education. And then the third kind of bucket is the way I think about our organization is straight up advocacy. How do we help make our cities and our communities safer places for people to walk and roll, and predominantly roll, right? We're the bike advocacy. Right. We do that by looking at future plans and writing in letters to support planning efforts that are tuned into the role of being able to ride your bike, lock your bike, basically safety around the new plans with bicycles. We also advocate for different ideas that are moving through city council and or the nation. You know, slow and active streets. We were really slow to come to slow and active streets. The nation had implemented them. Yeah, we were glacially slow to slow-mo active streets, right? Yeah.
Active. So,
exactly.
What do you think of the bike lanes on J Street where they move the cars out?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You know, for those people that feel really uncomfortable riding their bike, to have that buffer, a full buffer for them is great. They like having it. Problem, and this is me, the problem with J Street is that it's this one-way, 3-lane throughway, if you will, through the city. So it's not a super great street that's super conducive, but you know, you do the best you can, and the protective bike lane is great. I actually don't like it as much personally. Again, as a rider, I'm one of those fearless, you know, riders.
You're out in the lane. You're out in the lane. You're taking your space.
So I'll take the lane, and actually, I don't spend too much time riding on J Street. I think that adjacent streets are safer, a little bit quieter. They're lower volume. You know, it's more of a low stress idea, and the city and Saba would love to see a connected low stress network of streets or bikeways around town, so anybody can get from point A to point B without having to go down J Street. Right.
So is that something like, let's make 18th Street all the way from the beginning to the end, one of the lanes bike only?
Well, you could go that route. That would be fantastic, a bike highway. Yeah. Or you could, like M Street, which is a fairly quiet street. It's also really wide, and it's probably the only street in Sacramento that's really known to be like a bike highway, a bikeway, sort of a definite, everybody knows, like the culture is good on M Street. Neighbors and people that live there think it's totally fine to ride their bikes there. People are naturally drive slower. T Street is also similar in that way. So the idea is try to get more of those and connect them up so that people can get anywhere they want around the city, right, in a low stress way, and not have to be on a really fast moving road.
Oh, right. I wouldn't want to ride my bike on J Street. I would take other routes. Right. And it's for that reason. There's too many cars, too much competition for that space.
Yeah. Now, if J Street went back to 2-way, it would be a much better.
And that's where people are riding their bikes on the sidewalk. If they're, you know, and it's hard because you can say get off the sidewalk, but there's no safe place for them to go.
Right. And that's why the protected bike lane is there, and that's great. Yes. There's often a lot of debris in there. You still have to watch out for the drivers who are parking and dooring. And you know, there's still, you have to be alert, and that's natural, right? You're on a bike, you are just you and your 30-pound bike, and then 3,000 pounds moving by you at 25, 35 miles an hour. Yeah.
Right. So I want to talk about the Rivetress. I want to talk about Rivet Cycle Works.
All right.
How long have you been doing that?
I've had this company for 11 years now, which is kind of amazing.
That's
great. I'm a long distance cyclist, very long, ultra long distance cyclist, and got to the point where I could ride a saddle for like 50 miles, but mile 51, it's like the light switch went off and my butt was like, what?
I can't do this.
I do this. So in order to be able to complete these bike rides, I needed to figure something out. And I de-engineered the best leather saddles. Like I looked at all of the saddles that are out there in the world, basically, and kind of de-engineered to figure out what are the problems and fix them, and then take the best, right? Flattery. The best flattery is mimicking. So came up with my own design that way. And
can you show us? Can you show me one of your saddles?
Yes, I have one right here. This is an Imogene, and it's a leather saddle with rivets on it, and it's a hammock, meaning that it's attached here and here, and as you sit on it, you create your own indentation, your own anatomy breaks in the saddle, like a good pair of Italian shoes, right? They break in. So then it fits you, and it makes it really comfortable for you to ride really long distances, which is great. So if I figured for my company, if I could get a saddle that people can ride around the world on, which I've done, then they can certainly break it in and ride it around the block. So shouldn't everybody have, a good, comfortable saddle?
So tell me, do you have to design them differently for men and women? Are there differences?
There
Well,
there are some, but mostly it's just anatomy, right? I take into account what your riding style is, what's the width of your sit bones, right? Those pointy
right.
bits, and then
the ones that get sore. Those ones that get sore.
Right, and then how long you sit, how long do you ride, and are you really retched out like racing, or are you more upright? Because that depends on how your body will interact with the saddle at the different angles. And then we try to fix it up and figure it out along that line and come up with a saddle. I've got 5 different models that are basically based on different widths.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And how do you get your orders? On your website?
It's all online. Yep. I have a lot of people that will email me first and tell me what their problems are. And sometimes it's fairly graphic. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. But so
my ass hurts.
Right. My ass hurts. But we try to figure out and narrow it down. And then we have like a Netflix for saddles, if you will, a library. So we send out a saddle. You can try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we can swap it out. Worst case scenario is that you have tried a few things. You've learned a lot, but one of our saddles doesn't work. I care more that people find comfort on their bike than it's my saddle, right? Because I want to see more and more people riding their bikes, and I feel like that's important.
How much competition is there out there for these custom?
Oh, there's lots. I mean, Brooks saddles have been in existence for over 100 years. So, my saddles, I can say my saddles are standing the test of time for a decade, but that's not 10 decades. There's a lovely company in France called IDL that makes very fancy custom saddles. And then there's a bunch of knockoffs, actually. So, yeah.
So, what made you go into that? Is it just because you couldn't find the right saddle?
Well, it's another weird twist story.
Is it a helicopter ride? Does it have
sort of a different helicopter ride. I had come to California, and my sweetheart had a saddle company, which is still in existence, called Sella Anatomica. And he and I were riding a bicycle ride of 200 miles, and he had a heart attack on the ride and died. So I jumped into his company to help keep it afloat, keep it moving along. And in the process of doing that, I learned a lot. It's a very steep learning curve on the bicycle industry. And in the end, I decided to create my own product because I thought it was, instead of trying to fix that product, I decided I'd make my own and make a better product, which I've done. So they're still in existence, but it's an odd way to get into the business.
You got some stories.
I'm all in.
Right? It's like, oh my gosh, how did you get started? I didn't know that we were going to go there.
Yeah, sorry.
That's the hard way to learn something, for sure. It's like being thrown in the deep end and going, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah. I have been very fortunate to have a couple of very great mentors, especially during that time, that were really great. The bike industry is both open, sometimes forgiving, but I was really lucky to have a couple of people that really had my back and supported me.
Yeah, I guess so. So in your company now, do you have employees?
I do not. It's me.
It's you. You're making them. You're making. All right, so we're getting your hands. Your hands are all over those seats, huh?
Yeah, literally. We source leather from Wisconsin, so we've got good Wisconsin cows, and work on the design. And actually, I don't manufacture them myself, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah,
they are manufactured offshore, and then I work with this guy who I call my leather whisperer, and he makes beautiful leather saddles for me, and then I sell them back here in Sacramento.
Okay. All right. So if you need a good saddle for your bike, now we know where you are, and we know how to get a hold of you. And We know that you love bicycles and bicyclists.
I do.
I think that's the main thing. And you're in this executive director position because of passion, which means you don't have to work a single day. Well, maybe a little bit.
There's a little bit. It
There's
is mostly passion for sure.
Yeah. I mean, when you can create social change around a subject that is really building a better community, what better job could you have? I feel like Uptown Studios does that every day, where we are creating solutions for difficult situations.
Yeah.
So everyone, thank Deb for joining us. Check out the website at sacbicycle.org and the River City Works. And join us next Tuesday. I can't thank you enough. You're very interesting, Deb. I'm so glad that you could join me. I look forward to helping you on different advocacy stuff for the city of Sacramento. Everyone, thank you.
Partnership. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.